Welcome back to the Fiscal Philosophy YouTube channel. I know it's been a long minute. Don't worry, I haven't abandoned you. And I know MPW, the earnings are coming up on Thursday. I do plan to live stream this. It's a busy earnings week though. We do have this on Thursday. We have PayPal, I believe, tomorrow. There's United Health is reporting this week. That's in the bullpen, as you know, which means I'm kind of playing around with the idea of maybe getting in at some point, but a lot kind of depends on what happens in the conversation around things going forward for them. We have, of course, many things that happened recently, like Google's earnings, and we'll get into it. But first, with MPW, we're at an 8% gain year to date, so it is kind of contributing to the overall return, but we're far off from the 52-week highs in the sixes. We got into, I think it was around 620, 630, something like that back in late March, and then it just kind of bled off from there. But it did, after hitting a bit of a near-term bottom, have a little spike recently. So perhaps it's a coiled spring, and maybe this earnings will shed some light on some dangling issues with the prospect bankruptcy and get us a clearer path going forward, perhaps some guidance, etc., that could pump a little bit of life into the stock. I would certainly like that. I do still hold all the stock that I have in this company. I have not sold any shares because, well, I'm patient, and as long as I believe that the valuation is higher than the current price, I'm willing to stand by and hold unless there is another much greater obvious opportunity that demands the cash. However, such an opportunity has not yet presented itself, so I'm gonna hang on tight. I have other cash I can play with in the meanwhile. Don't need to liquidate this in order to do that. Plus, I do believe there is still a greater than 50% upside yet to be realized on this, and I'm happy to collect the 8 cent per share dividend in the meanwhile while I wait for that to play out. We also had Google report last week, and in one of the big accounts here, we have a lot of shares and some long options positions, which means that, well, we believe in the stock big time, all right? And they crushed top and bottom line, but also beat expectations with regards to individual segments. And that was actually one of the important pieces, because one of the sort of bear theses is that ChatGPT is going to just destroy Google search. The numbers did not support that. You can take a look at this beautiful slide, which shows in search, there was a 12% gain compared to comparable quarter prior year, which sequentially was actually an acceleration in the growth rate. You have YouTube ads up 13% year over year. Network was basically flat, negative 1%, and subscriptions, platforms, and devices up 20% year over year. So this is extremely good when it comes to what the gains were regarding their operating income. And you know, it's all about the income, right, guys? And what about Google Cloud? Well, I'm glad you asked. Year over year growth, plus 32%, which is actually a slight acceleration. Cloud operating income, it's way up, and their operating margin has expanded from 11.3% Q2 last year to 20.7% in Q2 this year, close to a doubling of their operating margin in cloud, which means as it grows larger, the operating margins seem to improve. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And here we are, worried about ChatGPT. No. I'm not worried about ChatGPT. But hey, that's just me. I'm happy to sit here and let the market be slow to realize how awesome this actually is. Up next, we have PayPal. PayPal reports tomorrow, okay? And they are a classic battleground stock. People seem to not be able to decide if they love it or hate it. A lot of people got burned buying it when it was close to $300 or higher, and got decimated when it dropped around 80% from those levels. However, there is a new CEO in charge, Alex Chris, and he is, in my estimation, the real deal. I have a pretty, for the amount of money we're dealing with here, a pretty substantial amount towards this stock in the form of both shares and a small options position. I believe that they will prove that they can expand profitability. Now, they did have a deceleration in revenue growth in the most recent quarter. However, a lot of that revenue, a lot of that revenue growth that they kind of let go or didn't pursue would be lower margin. The problem with taking on any and all growth, even if it's not profitable growth, is that it actually sort of falsely pushes down your margins. And I think the focus on profitability is actually a good thing, because honestly, when Alex Chris came on board, the first thing that he identified was that there's a lot of different segments in PayPal. It's like an amalgam of a bunch of different things, but there was no sort of unified vision of how to have all of them row in the same direction together as one enterprise. And he's got a lot of different things in the works, like the new PayPal World thing that you may have seen articles about recently. Suffice it to say, I'm excited for this earnings call, and I plan to listen to it closely. In fact, I'm considering also potentially live streaming this one, depending on if I'm able to at the time that it airs. Let me know, by the way, in the comments if you're interested in that. Live streaming both PayPal and MPW in the same week would be pretty great. So let me know if there's any interest. Remember to like and subscribe for that algorithm. Help me out. It means a lot to me. Make sure that you also let me know if you'll be at the MPW earnings on Thursday and what you would like to see regarding the PayPal earnings tomorrow. Also, make sure you're considering joining my Discord, which is linked in the description. Also, you should check out the channel sponsor Moomoo, where we have partnered, and if you sign up and deposit some money, you get some free stocks, some wonderful things like that. Also, every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, I am on Cashflow Kings Live. I co-own this channel with Ryan Dengler Show. And we are about to pre-record an episode with the legendary Fuhat and get pitched some interesting stocks. So make sure you watch on Saturday if you're interested in that. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.